Come, he said, holding out a hand. The bed's big enough for two. And before you start with the objections, I'm not suggesting anything more than sharing the space. I just don't want you spending another night uncomfortable on the couch, or far from me. Andrew looked at the outstretched hand like it was a choice too dangerous to be simple. But he touched it, and held it.
Just sleep?
Kai smiled, their fingers now intertwined. Just sleep, he confirmed. But his eyes said something else, something that made the air between them hum. For now.
Kai.
Andrew gave a soft smile, the kind that meant surrender. He already knew the "for now" wouldn't last long. And maybe it wouldn't last on either side.
Chapter 12.1 Morning in the Same Bed. The room was still dim when Kai opened his eyes. The first thing he felt was the steady warmth beside him. The second was the solid weight of an arm draped over his waist. Andrew was sleeping on his side, face partially buried in the pillow, his breathing slow and deep, setting the rhythm of the silence. Kai turned carefully, wanting to stretch out that moment, too intimate to feel real. Even in sleep, Andrew pulled him closer, the possessive touch, as if his unconscious refused to let go. Kai's heart skipped, not from surprise, but from something warmer, something more dangerous. He lifted a hand and traced his fingers lightly along Andrew's face, the defined jaw, the slightly tousled hair. Andrew stirred, eyes opening slowly. There was a kind of vulnerability in him that few had the privilege to witness. "Morning," Kai whispered, a crooked smile playing on his lips. Andrew looked at him for a long second, eyes still heavy with sleep, but already flickering with something more.
Do you always wake up with that mischievous look?
"Only when I wake up with you next to me." Andrew let out a low laugh, voice still husky with sleep. Kai took the chance to lean in, resting his forehead against his. "If you don't kiss me right now, I'm taking it personally." Andrew hesitated, but only for a second. Then their lips met. It was different from their first kiss, less urgency, more surrender. There was desire, yes, but also trust, a kind of calm buzzing with electricity. Kai pulled Andrew by the nape, deepening the kiss, feeling the heat of his body settle into his own with a dangerous sort of ease. Andrew held his breath when Kai's hand slid down to his waist, pulling him even closer. The kiss grew more hungry, more daring, until Andrew broke it off, breathless.
Kai.
"Mm-hmm."
If we keep going, you're gonna miss your first class. Maybe your second, too.
Kai smiled, lately biting his bottom lip. "Maybe it's worth it." Andrew shut his eyes for a moment, trying to regain control.
You're not making this easy.
"And you pretend you don't want it just as much as I do." Andrew leaned in for one last kiss, quick, but rough with longing.
Go get dressed. I'll drive you to class. And later, we'll pick up where we left off.
Kai pulled back slowly, lips flush and satisfied. "Promise?"
I promise.
"Then, Mr. Bodyguard, you'd better start planning my nighttime security too." Andrew laughed. Really laughed this time.
I already am.
Chapter 12.2 Between Rugs and Thresholds. After Kai's shift at the cafe, they stopped by a convenience store. Nothing fancy, some bread, things to throw together, a snack, instant noodles, 2 sodas, and a box of cookies that Kai insisted on getting just because he thought they were cute. Back at the apartment, the tiny kitchen became a stage for synchronized movements. Andrew sliced the bread and prepared the sandwiches while Kai stirred the pot. They kept brushing against each other on purpose, laughing quietly as if the outside world had suddenly become less relevant. They ended up sitting on the living room rug, facing each other with their makeshift plates balanced on their legs. The soft glow from the lamp made the space feel warm and intimate. Andrew looked more relaxed than Kai had seen him in days.
This is good.
Andrew said after biting into a sandwich. "It's just some bread with random stuff inside."
But it tastes like home.
Kai watched him fondly.
And you think you can already call this place home? Andrew hesitated, but smiled.
If it's where you are, then yeah. I think I can.
Kai set his plate on the floor and leaned in, slowly. His knees touched Andrew's, who looked at him in silence. Then why do you still act like you need permission to touch me?
Kai.
No. You want me, Andrew. I see it every time you look at me. But you still treat me like I'm just a client or some kid. Andrew leaned back against the couch behind him, tilted his head, and took a deep breath.
It's not because of you. It's me. I lost someone. And I know what happens when I let myself get too close. I mess up. I fail.
Kai.
Move closer, settling between Andrew's legs. And now, you think you'll fail me? If you kiss me like you really want to? Andrew stared at him, eyes burning with conflict.
It's not just the kiss, Kai. If I start, I'm not sure I'll be able to stop.
Maybe I don't want you to stop. Kai leaned in and kissed him, a kiss full of hunger and zero hesitation. It was deliberate, provocative. Tongues tangled, teeth tugged at lips, and the heat surged like a slow burning fire. Andrew kissed back, just as fiercely, large hands gripping Kai's waist as if he might slip through his fingers. Their bodies pressed together, breaths ragged, the tension climbing. Kai's hands explored Andrew's chest, beneath his shirt, and the low, shared moans left no doubt. This wasn't a game anymore. I want you.
Kai whispered against his mouth.
I want all of you, not just the safe parts. I want to be your boyfriend, for real. I want to do things with you that friends don't do.
Andrew closed his eyes like he was fighting his own desire. Kai looked up at him with a bold, wicked smile.
If you're afraid of failing me, then prove you want me. Show me, now.
It was like lighting a fuse. With one fluid motion, Andrew flipped their positions, pressing Kai down on the rug and hovering over him, lips trailing his neck, shoulders, collarbones. Kai's shirt was already being tugged upward when he whispered, smiling.
Should we take this to the bedroom?
Andrew froze. Just for a second. His eyes locked with Kai's, intense, conflicted, full of longing, and the room went still.
Chapter 12.3 Surrender.
Andrew was still there, kneeling on the rug, his hands planted on either side of Kai's body, as if that position was anchoring him, not physically, but emotionally.
His chest rose and fell quickly, his gaze locked on Kai's. The hesitation on his face was almost painful.
If I go with you into that room right now, he murmured.
Kai raised a hand and touched his chin lightly with his fingertips. I promise you won't regret it.
For 1 second, Andrew closed his eyes, just one. And when he opened them, it was as if something had cracked or been set free.
He stood in silence and lifted Kai into his arms. For a moment, Kai held his breath, feeling the heat of that firm chest and the strength of the arms now wrapped fully around him. In the bedroom, the space felt smaller, more intimate. The warm light from the living room lamp filtered down the hallway, casting soft shadows across the walls. But in there was only the two of them. Only the sound of breathing and footsteps on the wooden floor.
Andrew pressed Kai gently against the wall, still moving like he was asking for permission with every gesture. But his eyes said something else. They said, I want you. Now.
Kai pulled Andrew's shirt up over his head and he let him, making it easier. His arms loosened slightly, letting Kai slide down to touch the cold floor with his feet. Then Kai met his gaze with a provocative spark in his eyes and slowly took off his own shirt, a slow, deliberate, tempting motion.
Andrew watched him as if he needed to memorize every second. A rising heat surged through his legs, through his chest, and his hands reached for Kai's bare skin, like they were searching for memories not yet made. Kisses on the neck, on the back, on the shoulder.
Kai tilted his head, gasping at every touch, surrendering to the rhythm Andrew set. Firm, yet reverent, as if every inch of him deserved its own moment. He let out a quiet laugh when they stumbled on the edge of the bed, but Andrew held him steady.
"Do you trust me?" he asked, voice low and rough.
"With everything I am."
Kai replied. The clothes fell, one piece at a time, and with them the last of the walls between them. There was no what if anymore. Only now.
Andrew laid him down with a tenderness that contrasted the raw need in his touch. Their bodies met, finally, with nothing left between them. And the heat they'd been holding back for weeks surged into a slow burning storm. They explored each other without hurry, every touch filled with longing, every look, every movement speaking louder than words ever could. There, in that small bedroom, there was no past trauma, no fear. Only two hearts that, at last, had fully chosen one another.
Chapter 12.4 Before the Day Breaks.
Kai woke up before the first light touched the room. The first thing he felt was warmth. Andrew's body pressed against his, a heavy arm wrapped around his waist, slow breaths brushing the curve of his neck. It was a kind of peace he hadn't known could exist, so intimate, so solid. He turned carefully to face him. Andrew looked younger in sleep, softer. There was something precious about that moment, like the world outside simply didn't exist. Kai traced his fingers along the line of his jaw, then through the tousled dark strands on the pillow. He smiled to himself.
You're even more beautiful without the armor.
Andrew opened his eyes slowly, like he'd been awake for a while, just enjoying the silence.
Was that a compliment or an attempt to make me flustered?
He murmured, voice hoarse.
Both.
Kai grinned.
But it's true.
Andrew pulled him closer, their faces now touching.
You okay? I'm more than okay. No, I mean, with what happened last night, with us. Kai nodded slowly. It was exactly how it should have been, exactly how I wanted it.
They fell into silence for a few seconds, legs tangled, hearts beating in sync.
Have you ever thought about waking up like this every day? Kai asked, not breaking eye contact. No more hiding, no more waiting for the right moment to feel what we feel? Andrew closed his eyes briefly, as if the question hit something deep inside him. More times than I should have. Kai reached out and traced a line from his shoulder to his chest with a single finger. Then why don't we make it real? Andrew stayed quiet. The words were all there in his eyes, but when he finally spoke, his voice had changed, lower, more controlled.
Because the world out there didn't stop, because I'm still the guy who has to stay alert every second, because there are still people who don't want you safe.
Kai took a deep breath, feeling the weight of reality slowly creeping back in. But in here, it's just us.
Yes, in here, it's just us. Andrew ran a gentle hand through Kai's hair. But out there, I'm still your bodyguard. I still have to stay one step ahead of everything.
Kai nodded, but the light in his eyes didn't fade. Then we deal with the world when we have to. But for now, just stay. Just a little longer. Andrew pulled him to his chest and held him tight like that embrace could shield them from everything that waited beyond the walls. And there, for a few more heartbeats, they allowed themselves to believe that maybe, just maybe, the rest could wait.
Chapter 13. Real Danger. 4 weeks later.
The call came on a Tuesday morning. Kai was in the kitchen, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly while thinking about the presentation he had that afternoon. Andrew was on the couch, eyes glued to his laptop, reading and responding to security emails with his usual surgical focus. Kai's phone vibrated. Unknown number. He answered on instinct.
Hello?
Half a second of silence. Then a voice. Distorted. Artificial. Kai Yoshida?
He frowned. Who is this?
Someone who knows Daddy hired a little watchdog to keep you safe?
Pause.
Too bad it won't make a difference.
Click.
The line went dead. Kai stood frozen for a moment, phone still pressed to his ear. The blood drained from his face. Andrew was already on his feet, crossing the room in 2 quick strides. What happened? He asked, voice sharp.
Kai swallowed hard. Someone called me, used a voice changer, said they know about the watchdog my dad hired and that it won't make a difference.
The change in Andrew was instant. His body tensed, eyes darkened. He pulled his phone from his pocket and was already dialing. Kai, backpack, now, only essentials.
Andrew, wait.
Now. His voice was harder this time, cutting. Clothes, documents, charger. 2 minutes. Go.
There was no room for discussion. Kai obeyed, heart pounding in his throat as he rushed to the bedroom, throwing clothes into a bag with trembling hands. Meanwhile, Andrew spoke in a low, fast voice, using words and codes Kai didn't recognize. Whatever he heard on the other end made his jaw clench tighter. When he hung up, he took position by the door, eyes scanning the window.
The situation's changed. Suspicious activity was spotted near campus last night. They were waiting for the right moment.
Who? What do you mean, Andrew?
We're dealing with professionals, and now they know you're protected. That changes everything.
But how do you know all this so fast?
Andrew looked at him for a second. A faint smile crossed his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. You really thought I was working alone this whole time?
I thought it was more off the record.
I am the off-the-record part. They're the heavy side. Andrew grabbed the keys and Kai's backpack, sliding a discreet firearm under his jacket. We're not staying here to find out what their next move is.
Kai looked around the apartment, his home, his safe space. Suddenly, none of it felt safe anymore.
And where are we going? Someplace no one can find you. He passed by Kai, gripping his hand tightly. From now on, Kai, keeping you alive is the only priority.
Chapter 14. Threat Revealed. The silence inside the car was heavy, tense, broken only by the hum of the engine and the occasional sound of tires slicing through wet asphalt. Andrew drove with almost mechanical precision, taking side streets, avoiding obvious traffic lights, as if he were always 2 steps ahead of something Kai couldn't even see.
Your father made progress in the investigation.
Andrew began, eyes fixed on the road.
They've identified who's behind the threats.
Kai turned to him, fully alert. Who?
Henry Reed, your father's former business partner, lost a fortune when their partnership ended, and apparently, he's been holding a grudge ever since.
A chill ran down Kai's spine. Is he dangerous? Andrew nodded, tightening his grip on the steering wheel.
Dangerous enough to hire trained professionals, and the call you got today means he knows more than we'd like. This isn't just a warning. It's a game he thinks he can win.
Kai took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. What does that mean for us? Andrew shot him a quick glance, just enough for Kai to see the tension behind his eyes.
It means the next 48 hours are critical. My team's already in contact with the police and private intelligence. We're tracking Reed's moves and trying to stay ahead of whatever comes next.
And until then?
Until then, you stay with me. Every second, every place.
The firmness in Andrew's voice was unshakable. But underneath it, there was something else. Something low and barely perceptible, like worry trying to slip past his discipline. And after that? Kai asked,
barely above a whisper. Andrew took a moment to answer. The car moved through narrow streets in an industrial neighborhood, long shadows slipping past the windows. After that, he finally said, voice softer now,
We pick up our life again, whatever our version of normal looks like.
Kai looked at him a little longer, catching the subtle hesitation in that last word. And in that moment, with the world on the verge of collapsing around them, the only thing that still felt solid was the man behind the wheel and everything he felt for him.
Chapter 15: Sanctuary and Vulnerability.
The safe apartment was discreet, tucked inside an old building on the quieter side of the city. The walls had that neutral shade of a place no one really calls home. Andrew did a full sweep before letting Kai step inside. Every corner, every lock, every window. Nothing escaped his inspection. Kai watched him silently, leaning against the doorway, until he couldn't help himself.
You're impressive.
Andrew didn't respond right away, focused on adjusting the balcony lock. Force of habit, he said eventually.
No, I mean you. It's impressive to see you like this, in action. You're really good at this.
Andrew stopped. Slowly turned to him, eyes locked. Doesn't it scare you? Kai frowned.
Why would it?
Because now you're seeing what I really am. Not just the guy who gives awkward smiles when you make dumb jokes or tries to sleep on the couch. You're seeing the soldier. The guy trained to deal with worst-case scenarios. Kai took a step closer and gently touched his arm.
I'm seeing all your sides, and I like every single one of them.
Andrew held his gaze, as if searching for doubt. Even when I'm like this, cold, calculating?
Especially when you're like this, because that's when I see how much you care, how far you're willing to go for me.
Something broke or gave way in Andrew's eyes. In the next moment, he pulled Kai into a kiss that was nothing like the others. It wasn't shy, it wasn't sweet. It was urgent, intense. A kiss that said, "What if this is the last one?" His hands held Kai like he was trying to memorize him. "If anything happens to me, you run. Don't try to help me, don't look back. Run and contact my team.
Andrew.
Promise me, Kai." Kai's eyes were serious now, his heart tightening at what he saw in Andrew's gaze. This wasn't drama. It was real.
I promise. If you promise, you'll come back. If you promise, you'll do everything you can to come back to me.
Andrew rested his forehead against his, breathing in deep. "I promise."
Chapter 15.1: The Mistake.
Almost a full day had passed since they'd entered the safe apartment. It was early, a cloudy morning, and Kai, still in his hoodie, opened the door to the persistent sound of the doorbell. On the other side, a man in uniform held a paper bag. "Delivery for 306?" he asked, looking confused.
This is 206. You must have read it wrong.
Kai pointed at the number. "Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. Right number, wrong floor." The man smiled and turned to leave. But before he could take more than a step, Andrew appeared in the living room, already on high alert. "Kai." His sharp tone made Kai flinch.
It was just a delivery guy. He had the wrong floor.
Kai said, trying to downplay it. But Andrew had already crossed the room in 2 strides. He reached the doorway and watched the man at the far end of the hallway. His whole body was tense. "Stay inside. Close the door, now."
Andrew.
"Close the door." Kai obeyed without arguing. The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Andrew pulled out his phone, exchanged a few quick messages with his team, and then grabbed his jacket. "I'm going after him. There's no time to get someone over here, so I'll go."
Andrew, seriously, he just...
And what if he didn't? What if it was a test, a distraction? We can't take chances, Kai. Not while I'm responsible for you.
Andrew.
Stay inside and do not open this damn door for anyone, understood?
Cornered, Kai just nodded,
watching Andrew slam the door behind him and leave with a stormy look. He heard the key turning in the lock from the outside, followed by the sound of his strong, hurried footsteps fading away. A knot formed in Kai's chest. Kai waited. Minutes felt like hours, his head spinning between guilt and frustration. When Andrew finally came back, the tension still clung to his body. He was just a delivery guy. I followed him to the convenience store, checked everything. Nothing suspicious. Kai sat on the couch, arms crossed, his face tight.
Great. So the crisis was just another demonstration of how I can't even open a door without putting the mission at risk.
Andrew froze, staring at him. That's not what I meant.
But that's what you did. You treated me like a mistake waiting to happen, like someone incapable.
Andrew sighed, running a hand through his hair. I just thought it might be a threat. I can't lose you, Kai, and that makes me act like this.
And acting like this has a cost. I understand your job. I understand the risk. But if every time I breathe off rhythm, you treat me like some reckless civilian, it's going to suffocate us.
Andrew didn't respond right away. The silence between them wasn't hostile, but it was heavy. Something needed fixing. Just not here, not now.